I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front! He scored! Harry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hind to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 to the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying. Sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest. Find a rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype.
Hey, how's it going?
Good stuff. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back again for another talk of the Toon, and I've been feeling all right the last few days after our recent period in the international before the last international break. But Daz, how have you been? How's things?
All good with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Oh yes, I like it.
Yeah, I have all these little things here uploaded, but I forget to use them. I'm good. But look who's there sitting in the green room. What time do you call this, Mr. Chris Hall? I'm good, Pete. I'm all good with Pete. All good with me. All good in the hood. Chris, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good. I'm apologies for my delayed start. I know I'm normally very close to the wire as it is, but yeah, I was running a little bit late this evening. I've literally just had something to eat. Currently in a hotel in London. So yeah, busy day, but really looking forward to tonight's show.
It doesn't have one of those light up headboards that you showed us before, does it?
No. Do you know what? I'll show you my background. Yeah, disappointing. I was gutted I couldn't come on last time because my background was brilliant.
It wasn't real.
Only you saw it. Hang on. Oh, my. Yeah, it's a little bit boring tonight. It's just you know, it's all right. It's nice, but yeah, it's just
it'll
standard.
do, Chris.
Standards. Yeah.
It'll do.
It's nice.
Definitely.
How are you boys anyway? You squad?
All good. And already lots of people in the chat as well. We've got the likes of David Tofield, Domsday. Great to have you in there. Jules as well. And Les, great to have you in there in the chat as always. Wes, nice to see Wes in the chat. David Cook, I saw you liked the show earlier. And of course, our spanners, we've got Tom and Lisa. Welcome everyone, and many more as they're trolling through. But look, there's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why it's Talk of the Toon, and it's the main man, Mr. Jordan Cronin, and he's here, one of the three Geordie journos. So Daz, come on, let's get him in. Why not?
I have a little button I could use for that as well.
Here comes a new challenger!
Geordie Journo's in the house.
Here he is.
Hey Jordan, how's it going?
Yeah, good lads. Long time no see.
Good
Definitely.
to see you.
Great to have you on, fella. Great to have you on. And look, I know you've been very, very busy over the last few weeks, living the life, I imagine, with all these fantastic matches against some of the best teams around. But look, just first of all, how are things with you? And secondly, I just want you to assess this, and it is sort of our last 7 games. You look at those results, there's some fantastic results and some historic results, and maybe some results where we think could have possibly done slightly better. But first of all, how are you? And secondly, how do you assess this second period of the season so far?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to apologise for being extremely red-faced because I just came out of the shower about 5 minutes ago. I'm just really hot in this room as well, so I'll probably have this permanent red face for the rest of the show. No, personally, it's been obviously very busy. 3 games a week since the return from the last international break, but can't complain. Obviously, being to some unbelievable places. Milan being the main one. Seeing PSG at home, but it's been an incredible turnaround from that Brighton game. I felt really low after that Brighton game, and it was strange because look, we're only 3 games into a season, 4 games into a season at the time. But it did have felt like we were at the end of the world at the time because nothing seemed to be clicking, especially the new signings. There's a lot of debate around have Newcastle signed the right players, have they immediately improved the start 11. We've had them conversations before the international break, and then of course they come back and to remain unbeaten since the last international break, and putting in factoring in 3 games into that as well a week. It's a remarkable run. They've been stretched as well over the last couple of weeks with obviously injuries, picking up injuries as you'd expect in terms of a busy schedule. But the turnaround has been incredible, and maybe we shouldn't have doubted this team because they've constantly overachieved and outperformed for the last 18 months or so. So yeah, they've certainly proved everyone wrong coming back after the break. Some top class performances there. The Brentford game, they just need to get a win for that one on the return. I compared it last season to the Brentford game. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't Brentford. Wolves, sorry. So they had that poor run going into the Carabao Cup final. Obviously lost to Manchester City as well, and they just need to get a result. And they managed to scrape a result against Wolves at the time, and then that set them on a run where they end up getting top 4. And that Brentford game felt a little bit like that as well. Obviously a really tight game in the end that they managed to get through, and then they just built on confidence from there. Great point in Milan. Perhaps fortunate to get a point in the end because Milan did pepper the goal, but you've also got to praise the defensive performance as well to keep a clean sheet. A lot of people going to Milan were probably looking all right, yeah, they're in pot 3, but if you look at their run of form now, Milan are actually top of the Italian league. So to get a point in the San Siro, huge stage, big occasion for Newcastle. The atmosphere there was electric. To come away from a point was a great result. And then obviously they've just came on leaps and bounds since then. 8-0 at Sheffield United. I never ever thought I would see Newcastle team scoring 8 goals in one game. I never thought I would see 8 different Newcastle scorers in one game as well. So that was an amazing day, amazing thing to witness. And obviously the Carabao Cup you can throw in there as well, obviously along with the results against Burnley. And there's honestly been so many games. I'm trying to track back how many Premier League games I've actually played.
Here we go. There you go.
Yeah, Burnley in there. Look, the Man City game as well. To get a result against the Man City team, okay, they weren't full strength either, but you're literally playing with a back line of Jamal Lascelles and Paul Dummett, which no disrespect to them, particularly with Paul Dummett as well, hadn't played a game for 12 months. And he put in he rolled back the years.
He was good.
So, Tino Livramento likes a Tino Livramento came in for that game as well. Thought he was brilliant. I just feel like I'm rambling here. Sorry, lads.
I
just feel like I'm rambling for all these games. But no, obviously it all builds up the Paris Saint-Germain game. What a night! Still now can't put into words what that result. Well, just the whole experience, the occasion. I've never heard St James's Park like that in terms of atmosphere for a long, long time. It was St James's Park is loud, but it was a different level that night. The war flags beforehand, the Champions League music, and then the noise when Almiron scored the opener. Wow, I've generally never heard a roar like that inside St James's Park ever. Now, look, you might be able to compare it like to Barcelona '97. Obviously, I was still. I think I was only just born, or maybe wasn't born. I think it was a couple of months before. So I can't compare.
I feel old. Jesus Christ, man.
So I can't really compare it to that, but it was just a really, really special night, and it's a night that'll live long with everyone. People talk about Barcelona '97. I do feel that Paris Saint-Germain game was the Barcelona for my generation, the people born after '97. So no, it's just been a really, really good run. Would have been nice if they'd have held out against West Ham for 3 points. Obviously got themselves in a great position to do that. But I think on reflection of the game, a draw was a fair result. Newcastle probably played well for 20 minutes in that game and managed to pick up a point. So they extended the unbeaten run to 7. And can you really complain about that? No, you can't. So it feels a lot more positive around Newcastle at the moment, and obviously still a lot more big games to come as well. I'm sure the feel-good factor will continue in weeks to come, because when you hosting likes of Borussia Dortmund at home, then you're going away at Borussia Dortmund, even the Carabao Cup as well. They've got all these big games against big teams. And I just relish it. Bring it on. It's nice to see Newcastle United compete on the highest level.
Yeah, exactly that. A great way to finish that assessment of the last sort of 7 games, Jordan, because it is that we are sort of relishing any team that we're playing against now, and I think that's that tells you everything you need to know about where the team are. But just before we do talk a little bit more about West Ham, because there's some specifics that I want to kind of get from yourself, Jordan. Chris, Daz, I'll come to you because I don't think we've really talked about it. And obviously the assessment that kind of Jordan's gone through with some of the games and the way in which we've performed. Now, what has been, and I'll start with you, Chris, what has been the biggest kind of turnaround that you've seen, where it's something small, something big in your eyes, just from watching the games from that first part of the season, obviously where we beat Villa, then we went on 3 straight sort of defeats, to now in this last sort of 7 games. What is kind of like something that you've kind of think, right, you know what, that's something I've noticed it's been different?
Yeah, as you started answering asking that question, I was thinking, Jesus, that's a good question, that. And I was desperately trying to think of something, Pete, before you finished your question. But actually, it's quite easy for me. So the one thing that sticks out for me, which is kind of seeing the upturn in fortune, I'd say, is probably Sean Longstaff. I think Sean Longstaff provides that stability. I think he balances our midfield, and ultimately he brings the best out in Bruno. And we've seen that, and Bruno over the last few games has been utterly brilliant. And we've spoke about this on the channel, haven't we, boys? As a collection, we've all been saying this the last few weeks, that Sean Longstaff's role at Newcastle, probably by all of us at some point, has been underestimated. Because when Sean Longstaff's not in this team, we don't quite tick as well. And I find that the team as a whole doesn't perform as well, particularly the midfield area. Sean Longstaff being in that midfield really gives us the balance that we need. And we've gone into detail on it, haven't we, Pete, on a couple of occasions? And Daz, we've looked at it on away days, we've looked at it in reaction shows. And I think it's even just small things like Sean Longstaff knows where to be. He's very unselfish. He does a job for the team, and he allows players to kind of venture forward and do what they need to do. And he will just quite happily slot in there. He'll sacrifice himself and his own game to make sure that, things are kind of ticking over nicely. And I think it's fair to say as well that we kind of saw that in that run where, when Sean Longstaff's not in that midfield, the balance isn't quite right. So for me, this run of games, I do think a large part of it is down to Sean Longstaff and his unselfish play, and bringing out the best of the likes of Bruno and Sandro Tonali as well. Because Sandro Tonali's still learning the ropes, and I think having someone like Sean Longstaff in there who knows what it means to play for Newcastle, who knows the ropes, knows how it all works, it can only be a good thing.
Daz, are you of the same mindset with Chris with regards to Sean Longstaff? I mean, yeah, he's definitely had an upturn in form. Or is there something else that kind of stands out for you? And people in the chat as well, put what you think has been something of that's kind of helped this turnaround. But Daz, is there anything that stands out for you?
No, my answer would have been John Longstaff as well. Like, if you start looking at the start of the season, there was pictures going around about, this is the best midfield in the Premier League, and it was Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton, and no one gave Longstaff a look in. And look, we're guilty of it ourselves. So that's what we thought as well. That's what it would be. And it just became more apparent that we're missing what Longstaff does. Does the things that goes unseen, does all the running, is in both boxes. Doesn't always score. Either can miss a lot of chances at times. It can be frustrating in that fashion, but it's the other things. He mops up everything. He covers for Bruno, and they got that kind of little we used to see where Bruno, there was no one covering when Bruno went forward. Tonali and Bruno would go forward, and there was no one there to mop up. But that's where Longstaff slots in, and it just goes unnoticed. So he's been the difference maker in the turnaround. Coupled with a few more things like Trippier being absolutely unbelievable, and every game he plays, he gets better. Like it's like you could give every man the match to Trippier because he's brilliant in every game, but you kind of just come to expect it now at this stage. But yeah, there's little things, and it's all kind of clicked together. But yeah, the key point was bringing Longstaff back in.
Yeah, definitely. Craig Lee's put an interesting point in there. Further down, he's put it didn't help having a not fully fit Joe Linton in the side before the break. The kid's a warrior, but shouldn't have been playing. I think that's interesting. Look, we talked about it on the review. Jordan, you were there. You would have seen it. Against Brighton, you could tell within 5 minutes he was not fit. Like, he was not fit to play the game. And when you've not got him, like his lung-busting runs, his battling ability, when you're just going through the motions, which he was on that day, and that's a really good point, Craig, that it does affect the rest of the team. I'll throw a little bit in there. I agree with both of you boys with regards to Sean Longstaff. I just think the squad has really stepped up. So you boys have talked about it. Paul Dummett, he was superb against Man City. And look, you were very friendly with your assessment, Jordan, that they'd rested a few players. They only rested Haaland. That team would play in the Premier League and has played in the Premier League that we beat at St. James's Park in the Cup. And I think having Alvarez up top, I think it was, and Doku running at him and Grealish running at him, he just lapped it up and he embraced it. And I thought he was brilliant. Jamal Lascelles as well, and a number of others that have come in and done a job. Elliot Anderson's coming in and done a job here and there. Fair play to them because they've all stepped up. And I think I genuinely thought that some of the squad players that were getting minutes, I thought that would be our downfall, and it hasn't been. They've actually stepped up to the plate, and that's been a really big positive for us, I think, in addition to Sean Longstaff. And it just goes to show with Sean Longstaff, we sometimes we overlook the impact that he has on the team. I think you boys will all agree. We did it last season. We underestimated his importance last season, and then we went to Villa Park and got absolutely hammered without him. It just showed his importance. But going back to the West Ham game, so you touched on West Ham. I've watched the Jordi Journo's video. I've seen your assessment. It was we'll take a point pretty much through gritted teeth from your perspective, Jordan. I think Leo was more kind of accepting of the point. But look, surely when it's 2-1, 88 minutes gone, you're thinking surely 3 points are in the bag, mate.
Yeah, no, it did have felt like the Newcastle were comfortable in the game, and then it was just to be fair, that the 2 goals of conceded were really poor defensively. The first goal in particular, obviously the ball goes over past Jamal Lascelles, who's in no man's land, and then Nick Pope comes running out. Now, I'm not sure why he did it. I think West Ham might have scored anyway, but it just looked a bit daft on Nick Pope's part of the fact that he's made a burst and run out and been left in no man's land like Jamal Lascelles, and obviously give Souček an open goal. In that first half, they were really flat, and it was a Champions League hangover. I know it's a cliche, but you could tell that they were sort of zapped of energy in the first half. They found a second wind for 20 minutes in that second half. Whatever Eddie Howe said at half time, I know he wasn't too pleased with his half time assessment of the players. So obviously they came out firing, if you like. Alexander Isak with 2 goals, both good moves for the. Well, I say the second one was a good move, in terms of Bruno over Trippier first time cross, Isak in the right place at the right time. And yeah, it did have felt like they'd done enough to get 3 points, but they just switched off defensively in the closing stages. I've seen a comment there from Yano about Sean Longstaff's role in the second goal. I don't want to call out people for errors and stuff, because I don't think the players deserve that. I think they've been an unbelievable run in the perhaps forgive them for that, but Sean Longstaff was ultimately fault for the goal, or one of the faults for the goal, because he was dragged too far up the pitch, left a gap in the middle where Bruno got dragged in, and then obviously left the West Ham goal scorer free on the edge of the box. So yeah, it was just a lapse of defensive concentration, which has ultimately cost them. But as I say, I forgive them for that, because let's not play this down. I think there was 7 games in 23 days or 28 days, one of the two. Wrote that today, I should probably remember it, but it's a lot of games for a squad that's been stretched over the last couple of weeks. Lost some really big players to injury. Obviously, you mentioned Joe Linton there about, they can't get him fit at the minute in and out. Obviously, had that knee injury, came back against Man City, unbelievable performance, and then comes on for 2 minutes against Burnley and ends up going off with a hamstring injury. That was a big blow. Obviously, Harvey Barnes for that West Ham game, they didn't really have a left winger. Obviously, Anthony Gordon banned. They played Elliot Anderson there, and I think Elliot Anderson this time last year would have been really suited for that left wing role, but I think he's been coached constantly behind the scenes by Eddie Howe to play the number 8 role, and he did look like a midfielder on the left-hand side for most parts of that game. I think he came alive a little bit in the second half, and not the rest of the players did. But I think he's much better suited to a left wing, a centre mid position now. So they were left light, and I felt going into the game against West Ham, it was a game too far for them. But they managed to get a point. And look, West Ham had a good start of the season as well. I'm sure they'll be up the top half of the season challenging. Because I think they've got a really, really good squad. You look at the options off the bench in the closing stages. West Ham had a better bench than Newcastle in terms of attacking options, and that's because Newcastle have lost players to injury. So the international breaks come at a really, really good time. It'll give them time to get a couple of players back. Obviously, get Callum Wilson back up to speed again. Sven Botman back. And, of course, Anthony Gordon as well. There's someone else in there as well who's going to come back after the break.
Willock, Joe Linton.
I'm not sure on Willock. I think he might be back in training, but I don't think we'll see him for the Crystal Palace game. But,
Joe Linton, think he'll be back?
Yeah, I think Joe Linton will be back. Callum Wilson will obviously be back as well. It's probably good that he didn't go away with England. It's the same with a lot of players, really. I mean, I was calling for Anthony Gordon to get a call up, particularly when Bukayo Saka pulled out the score earlier on the week. But from a selfish point of view, do you really want Anthony Gordon going on international duty when he hasn't stopped since the summer? He played that tournament in England in 21s, played the tournament, had a really good tournament, carried that momentum on. I think he's deserved a little bit of a rest. So I think he's had a little bit of a rest at the start this week, and went abroad and got a couple of some downtime. And obviously, I think that'll benefit him, and he'll come back stronger. But yeah, the international breaks come at a good time. They'll get players back, and I'm sure they'll be firing for Crystal Palace, and obviously the games that come after that as well.
The questions are coming thick and fast in the chat, and we will get to those questions in just a second. If you haven't already, a little bit of housekeeping. T&Cs, as you boys like to call it on Geordie Journos. Make sure you hit the likes. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're on the way to 7K. Come and join us. And whilst you're there, Geordie Journos, give them a subscribe as well and check out their videos. Great content from the boys. Jordan, Dom, and Liam. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned quite rightly, it's not about blaming individuals in that situation, particularly with the second goal. But what do you make of some of the stick that this man, Sandro Tonali, has been getting, particularly after his involvement in that goal on Sunday? In general, do you think the fans, and I say fans, a small section of the fans, are being harsh on Tonali? What have you made of him in this second period of the season so far, and what do you expect from him in the next period?
Yeah, so Tonali, so I'm going to say straight away, I think individually a very, very good technical player, tenacious, just a really good all-round player. But I think it's taken him time to adapt to this system. I think when we signed Tonali in the summer, if you had have asked me 8 games in, where do you think Tonali will be? I'd say I think he'd be up to speed. But he hasn't yet. He hasn't got up to speed yet. And look, I think that it's probably harsh to criticise a player on that, because he's came to a new country, new league, new language. It's a lot. It's really difficult for a player to adapt so quickly. I think Bruno did it quite seamlessly in the end, but some players take time, and Tonali ultimately needs time. How do I rate his performances so far? Again, we've seen glimpses. The Aston Villa game, excellent that game. After that game, £52 million looked an absolute bargain because he dominated that game, that midfield. I thought he was good against Paris. I thought he was. I thought he looked a lot more at home for probably the first time since that first game against Aston Villa. And then, look, he's dropped out the Premier League starting 11 in recent weeks. Elliot Anderson preferred. Give a shout out to him for being really good, Elliot Anderson. But it's just given opportunity to Tonali to watch on and learn. And he got his start against West Ham, and again, he just looks like a player that needs time to adapt. I thought first half he was poor, but that goes for everyone else as well. Every other player on the pitch didn't have a great first half, and then he switched sides. He went along to the shot there, swapped with Sean Longstaff. Obviously, went down the side with Trippier and Armstrong, and looked a much better player for it. I thought, again, I talked about 20-minute periods. I thought Tonali was very good in that 20-minute period when Newcastle turned it around. Yeah. But yeah, if I had to sort of assess his time so far, I'd probably give him a sort of a 6 out of 10. I'll be honest, I probably did expect more from him at this stage, but that's no criticism on the player. As I say, he's clearly a lad that needs time to adapt. And I think from what we've seen in the game so far, there's makings of a very, very good player. So I understand some of the criticism because you can only judge it how it is. And look, has Tonali really impressed in his first few games at Newcastle? Probably not. But as I say, I would caveat that with that you'll grow to be a very good player for this football club. I've got no doubt about it.
Daz, are you worried that that Tonali maybe hasn't hit the ground running as Jordan said? Because obviously, from Jordan's perspective, he would have expected, as he's mentioned, him to be up and running. Is it a worry for you? Have you seen signs of life? What are you making of Tonali at Newcastle?
No, I'm not worried at all. We identified Tonali back about 2 years ago, if you remember, when we picked him out of the crowd there a long time ago. But no, not worried. Eddie Howe said in the press conferences as well that he hasn't had an awful lot of training with the team as well. And he started the first game of the season. He scored as well, if you remember that. And I think we just probably all. I think it's a case of that. So a player coming with a big price tag, people just expected that he's just going to slot in there and that's it. He's just going to be automatic starter and take the whole new country, whole new language, whole new league, all on board all at once. But it's going to take time. And we said it. I think we said it at the end of the Stan game. Look at Anthony Gordon, who's young as well, and speaks English, is English, and was already playing in the Premier League. It took him time to adjust to the way that Newcastle play and what Eddie Howe expects. So give him time, and I think the second half of the season we'll see more from Tonali. But I've been impressed with what I've seen. But yeah, we expect more, but more will come from Tonali. I've no doubt about that.
That says, Chris, we want to see more. We expect to see more, and he's right. Is there anything that you think he should be doing more of on the pitch to maybe, take his performances from the 6 that kind of Jordan's given him to like the 8 and the 9s, certainly in our ratings, although our ratings get shut on every week. We're wrong no matter what we give them, so it don't really matter. But no, from your perspective, what does Sandro Tonali need to do in order to kind of up his game in the third section of this season?
I think, to be fair, Pete, I think it's hard to pinpoint a particular thing. I think your assessment at the start was really accurate, in terms of getting used to Eddie Howe's system, getting used to the pace of the Premier League. Really, it's all very general things. Like I don't look at Sandro Tonali's performances or Sandro Tonali as an individual and think, he doesn't do that enough, or he should be doing this, or he should be doing that. I think he will flourish. The more time he spends in the Premier League, the more time, he gets used to his new surroundings. Obviously, he's moved his family over from Italy, his boyhood club. I just think sometimes players take a little bit of time to settle, and I think we're seeing that. I mean, obviously, you know, in recent times, like Bruno Guimaraes, we got really lucky because he just kind of hit the ground running and he was brilliant as soon as he came. But you know, if you look back, you know, over, I mean, two that sprang to mind when you first asked the question, you know, Fabrizio Colaccini and Jose Enrique, they took a little bit of time to settle, and it was only in the second season, or I think it was the second season, or maybe 18 months on.
Championship season. Yeah.
And they were absolutely fantastic. Like Jose Enrique at left back was regarded as like the best player in the championship, and you never really hear that about a left back. That's how impressive he was. And then he followed that up when he came into the Premier League, and that's why Liverpool snapped him up. You know, sometimes players take a little bit of time to develop, and I think with Sandro, Jordan was right. You know, when he said that all the talent's there, you can see it. You can see he's a baller, and you can see that, you know, there's a lot more to come. And I think it's just about us being patient with him, not pushing him too much, not putting too much expectation on him, which is very easy to do because when you pay such an amount for the player, you think you're getting, you know, the finished article, ready to rock and roll. But sometimes it just doesn't quite pan out like that. People need time and space. And I don't have any doubts that Sandro Tonali will come good. It's just about when for me. I mean, I've been defending him for my Liverpool and Everton mates, and also my Tottenham mate in work. But what I find interesting is they all hone in on Sandro Tonali. Like, you know, if we don't do very well, or, you know, if something isn't quite going out, it's like, oh, Sandro Tonali, oh, what a waste of money. But they keep bringing him up, and I think, well, you're bringing him up because you know that he's going to be really, really good soon. Because if they thought he was an absolute flop, I don't even think he would come into the conversation. But it's the fact that they keep bringing him up and going, oh, maybe you should sell him on. Maybe it's not going to work out, and just all stuff like that. But I know it's because he's in their head rent free. I know they know he's a player. I know that, and you know we've just got to wait. And when Sandro Tonali comes good, I think he's going to become really good.
None of them wanted Newcastle United to sign him. You look at Liverpool, you look at Chelsea, the fighting they did over Casino and Lavia, and you know the amount of money that they were throwing at those two players, and then we sneak in early doors and get Sandro Tonali for 50 million. They were seething. Hate the fact that we've got him. But I'm with you boys. Not worried at all. What we don't need to be worried about is this. He's rapid. He is rapid. Look at that.
Did you see? Did you see? What's the sprinter's name? From Jamaica.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah, the little pictures of Tonali ahead of him in the 100 meter sprint.
He's coming. Yeah, and we thought Gordon was fast. Jeez. Sandro Tonali, and he was very good against PSG. I was really impressed with him. That's the kind of Sandro Tonali we expect. Not worried at all. What I love about it, before we come to questions for Jordan, what I love about Sandro Tonali is that he's honest. I loved in his press conference before the AC Milan game when they asked him, and he said, "It's took me a while to settle in. Like it's not been easy. It's not easy for a player to say that. A player that's been signed for big money to say, you know what, it's been difficult." He said that, and I like the honesty. And with that, I feel that we, as a fan base, need to give the boy time because he's been open and honest with us. So we should respect that honesty and give him the time to settle. We have all this talk from other clubs because their Italians haven't settled in the league. And I'm getting, Italians don't settle in England, blah, blah, blah. This boy will settle, and he is determined to settle. He's not talking about missing home or this, that, and the other. He's focused on Newcastle United, but he just needs to get up to speed. Once his English is there, once he understands the way in which we play, he will be fine. And what I actually think, lastly, is that him playing back-to-back games was a big plus for me. Playing against PSG and then playing against West Ham. That hasn't happened before. It's been play, rest. That filled me with confidence that he's going in the right direction. Firstly, that he's fit, and secondly, that Eddie Howe trusts him to play back-to-back games. that maybe fills me with confidence that we might see a little bit more of him at the level we want him to moving forward. But great opinions as always with Sandro Tonali. Another quick housekeeping: click the likes, click the subscribe as well. And Daz, Chris, have we got something else special tonight happening later on in the show?
Yes, we do. We're going to have a members draw, but Chris, you tell us more about it.
Yes, so it's long overdue, and we've been talking, haven't we, for a while, lads, about having a members draw. So yes, we're going to be doing a members draw shortly, and it is my responsibility now, once I find the poster, to explain to you how you would become a member if you wish to be. So the membership is $1.99 a month. And if you become a member of the Loaded Ultra family, as we call ourselves now, you will be eligible to be part of these draws. And as I say, it's really nice that we've got a fantastic set of members, and we really appreciate everyone who signs up, and it really supports the channel. So please know that we fully appreciate it. And we are planning to be trying to do a draw every month. So if you are a member, you will be in the members draw. You will be part of the spinny wheel. And by the way, what I also didn't mention, if you would like to become a member, you will need to do it. I don't believe you can do it on a mobile phone. I think you've got to do it on a tablet or a laptop or PC. So you'll see there's a little blue button which says join, and that is how you become a member of the Loaded family.
Superb stuff.
Yeah, the Ultras. The Ultras with the zebra logo.
Yes.
Love it.
That's what questions have we got?
We've
just seen a couple of them, and they are fantastic questions.
Yeah, there's some great. That's why I said I think we'll have to do 2 rounds of questions. Right, Jordan, rapid fire. We'll throw some at you. Some good comments as well, so that we can turn into questions. Okay, from Tom Dixon. He asked the question for Jordan: in the January window, which position do you want to reinforce first? And someone else makes reference to as well. Yeah, I know. Wes Fullerton says, "Do you think our next recruitment would be a striker or a centre half, or something different? It's your choice, Gordon or Jordan." Gordon. Gordon.
Honestly, it's been so long, you forgot my name. Question, answer to that. So both positions named there by Wes would be the 2 positions I would say. I think they'll probably go another 6 months without signing a striker, and then potentially look at that area in the summer. Centre half, I think. Look, you've seen with Sven Botman getting injured. Obviously, Jamal Lascelles has came in, and look, I think Jamal Lascelles has done a great job coming into the team. Look, I know he's got critics among the fan base, but I'm a big Jamal Lascelles fan, just purely for what he's done for the football club. He was a bit iffy against West Ham, if you like. We can look to blame him for the first goal, but I think to ask a player who hasn't played for essentially 12 months to play 3 games on the bounce, it was actually 4 games on the bounce, I think. Or was it 3? It was 3 or 4 anyway, which is it's a big set of games for a player that hasn't played. And I think he was probably one of the ones feeling it towards the end of that run against West Ham. So, but anyway, I think obviously they do need an upgrade on Jamal Lascelles. I think most people know that. It's just about what opportunities come up in the window. I think that they might potentially look for a right winger as well, and to help challenge Miguel Almiron. But what I would say on that is keep an eye on Yankuba Minte at Feyenoord, because he is doing well. I think from what I read somewhere, I think he came under a little bit of criticism from the Dutch media on Saturday because he decided to shoot in a situation rather than pass, or it was something like that. But if you look at what he's done so far, I think it's 8 games in the league. I think he started 5 of those. Played in the Champions League, which is unbelievable. It's vital experience. So I think watch his development, and if he does really well in the Netherlands, then he probably will be the right winger signing that people for in the summer, because as we've seen with Dan Ashworth at Brighton have done that historically in terms of signing players, sending them out on loan for a season. And next thing you know, they pop up in the start 11, and it's like, who's that? Well, actually, they signed this player a year ago, and this has been a year in the making. Brighton's unbelievable for that. Every season, there's a player that pops up at Brighton start 11, and I'm like, I've got no idea who that is, and then turns out to be very, very good at this level. So I think maybe start off will probably be the priority position they'd look at in the summer. In January.
Yeah. Can I jump off the back of that, Jordan, just dead quick? And I don't want to hog the time because I know we've only got a limited amount of time with you. But on the two very quick questions. So the first one is, do you think us bringing in a new striker will be dependent on Callum Wilson in any way in his future? And then my second question was going to be, how long do you think it will be? And again, I'm not trying to create a witch hunt here, but how long do you think it will be before we look to sign a goalkeeper?
So the strike question, is it dependent on Callum Wilson? Yeah, it is. And it could also be dependent on Alexander Isak if he continues in the form he is.
No. Jordan, don't do this. Don't do this.
It would take huge money for Newcastle to sell Alexander Isak. But look, if he's scoring goals in the Champions League, and the talk of Real Madrid haven't looked at them, they'll put the money on the table. Of course they will. Look, Newcastle's progress has been unbelievable, but let's not think that we can hold on to players when the likes of Real Madrid come calling. We're still only 2 years into this project. Real Madrid hold a lot over Newcastle, as do all our European clubs as well. So I'm not saying Alexander Isak is going to leave, but I'm saying don't hide from the fact that if a big European club comes in and puts money down on the table, the player might not. The player might want to go.
No, as you put in your article, I think it might be yesterday. Real Madrid, you don't want him, lads. He's always injured. He's injured. Don't worry. Haaland's there somewhere. He's all right.
Chris Wood,
go for him instead.
The one ex Newcastle striker, Chris Wood, is your man.
I don't want people in the chat here thinking that I'm offloading Alexander Isak next summer. It's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying in a potential scenario, because there has been talk of Real Madrid monitoring both Isak and Bruno. Obviously, Bruno release clause there. I know I've seen a negative reaction to the Bruno clause, saying, "Oh, why is it in there? No player clearly wants to go." But what it does is if a player wants Bruno, there's no hardball. There's the price, pay it or you don't get him. And look, if Newcastle get 100+ million off Bruno, that's a lot of money to go and reinvest it in the squad. So I understand the logic of the release clause. Isak obviously might not go. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to cause panic to you guys and those in the chat. I'm just saying likely scenario. But yeah, striker. I mean, Callum Wilson's probably the most likely because I don't know his contract situation, to be honest. I think it expires at the end of this season, but I don't know if there's been a clause where it activates a extra year. I'm not sure. It's quite a grey area, Wilson's contract. So I think he's fine for the next couple of seasons, but I think there might come a time where he's quite desperate to play football, quite openly voices his frustrations as playing backup. So if Isak continues to start ahead of him, then he might look to go elsewhere for the sake of his career. But what I would say on that is Callum Wilson probably doesn't get better than what he's getting now. Like, you're rotating and you're going to get games because you're playing 3 games a week, and the pinnacle of Callum Wilson's career is going to be playing in the Champions League.
Daddy will look after him. If anyone watches the Footballers Football podcast, while Antonio refers to anyhow as Daddy, Daddy will look after him. He'll give enough minutes. So go on, sorry.
Go on. I was going to say there was a second question in there from Chris, and I've completely forgot it because I've been absolutely the last 5 minutes.
All it was, mate, was just to ask how long before you think we'll look to bring a goalkeeper in. And again, I'm phrasing it like that because I'm not trying to create a witch hunt. I'm just interested to see your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the end of the season. I think I love Nick Pope. Unbelievable shot stopper. If you put Nick Pope in the sort of the 1980s, 1990s, he would be viewed as one of the best ever goalkeepers because just of his shot stopping. But now the game has changed so much in terms of the goalkeeper, in terms of the playing out from the back. Now Manchester United literally got rid of David de Gea to bring in Onana just because he could play better with his feet. But it turns out Onana actually can't save a shot. So,
Yeah.
so
like
do you value more? Do you value someone more who can play football, or do you value someone who can use these? I think I'd rather use these when I'm in goal.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing, boys, is that I'll be honest, my opinion's changed after.
Really?
After seeing Onana.
Onana, yeah.
Onana was considered one of the best, if not the best in the world with his feet, after the likes of Edison. Okay. They've gone all out to get him, and they thought their goalkeeping situation sorted. It's worse because he's not a shot stopper. The question I've got for you guys, and we don't have to talk about it now, it's another time, is that I think this will run down the line and we'll continue to talk about this. What do we want from a goalkeeper? Do we want them to be a good distributor, or do we want them to be able to save the day? Save the day with good saves. If we can find a middle ground, if we can find the middle, that's perfect. But I personally don't see anyone out there that's available next summer that we can go out and spend and bring in. That might change between now and then, but I'm just thinking to myself, what do I want? And I'm still not 100% sure what I want. I'm leaning more towards Nick Pope right now, the goalkeeping, shot stopping that Jordan said. I don't know. We can talk about it, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I don't know.
It's an interesting point. It's an interesting point, Pete, because in fairness, without going down a whole goalkeeper show, it's in. And by the way, I'm saying that because I started this. It's an interesting one because, you know, back in the day, and we used to have the same thing with strikers, didn't we? Where you would literally be talking about a striker or a goalkeeper or whatever, and you go him. Now it's like, well, actually, if we did get rid of Nick Pope, and so you raise a good point, like who out there would you automatically go, oh, he'd be better, or he'd be an upgrade? There isn't a long list of players, is there? It's like even with Isak, Pete, when when we were talking about that earlier, and then you're thinking, who are we going to get like him? Because you see these other clubs like Man United buying in Højlund and players like that. It's difficult to get a striker to come in and score goals. Even Darwin Núñez, he still can't cement his position at Liverpool. He's still not considered the out-and-out striker. So really, we touch lucky with Alexander Isak. So is it better, better the devil you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Richie just messaged and he put Magnan from AC Milan.
Yeah.
But I just think, how much money is that going to cost? It's an expensive deal. Like, are we really at that point where we can spend 70, 80 million on a goalkeeper? That a Man City, Real Madrid, someone that needs a desperate need for a goalkeeper. I don't think Real Madrid are, but someone that's desperate need for a goalkeeper, maybe. But
Real Madrid took Kepa, piece.
He's one of the best.
Yeah, they did. I think we need someone, not because if we want to bring in a ready-made replacement, it's going to be massive money. But I think we need a young keeper to come in because there's going to be a bit of a merry-go-round with the goalkeepers, I think, in the summer. So I think someone young that can come in and kind of learn the ropes and challenge Pope, and take it from there. And then if it works out, they get the number one slot. If not, then at that stage be able to pull the trigger and bring in a more expensive option, let's say, more established keeper.
Yeah.
Let's hold that goalkeeper talk for now. When you're back on, Jordan, we might need to kind of bring this back in again.
We did the questions. We got to one question for the viewers. Yeah, maybe we'll go on to the second one. David Cook asked the question. Any details about objections for the fan zone, Jordan? Of course, the stacked fan zone.
No, I've not heard. I have not heard anything on that. Obviously, the plans have been approved, and it'll be built by March next year, I believe. So, if there is any objections, it doesn't matter because it's still going ahead.
March? Did you say? March? Did you say?
Ooh. Easter, yeah, it'll be there for Easter. Don't worry.
Interesting.
We have to build our own one. It'll be there for Easter.
I wonder what's happening then. We're not doing a charity match. I can't run these days.
Yes.
Neither can we. It doesn't matter.
Hey, Jordan, you got months to prepare, fella.
I know. I'm glad you've told us now. I need to hit the gym tomorrow.
But it's coming.
No.
It's coming.
It's coming. There's one here, Dante Soul. I'm going to out him as Oliver B. We Are United, because I know Dante Soul has been saying this on Twitter. He's talking about he's in conversation with the box office, and they're saying that there's 4,000 allocated to members for each home game, and 30,000 applied for the Dortmund game. And he also says then that we need some transparency on the process here. I know I think he's been talking to the trust as well. He's been on the on Twitter about this as well. So yeah, he himself he's probably he hasn't had any luck in the ballot as 0 from 8, and others are 5 from 8. But yeah, I was asked the question, what do we think? And any thoughts on that from anybody?
To be fair, I completely agree that there needs to be transparency over how many tickets are being put into a ballot. Same with away trips and stuff as well. I think the ticketing system has been a total mess from the start of the season in terms of obviously changing to the digital or mobile tickets. And obviously changes to the people entering the ballot. It's been a mess. It's a really tricky situation to manage, but I think the box office has still got a lot to learn. They must listen to fans, the trust, and just get it right, because at the minute it can't continue the way it is. There's too much frustration among the fan base and the way tickets are distributed currently. So there needs to be conversations from the trust and obviously people are high above me to influence that. So I'm interested to hear any concerns on tickets, actually, because I've been meaning to write a piece on it for a while now. So if anyone wants to share their experiences, just message me on Twitter, and that's something I'll look into.
Cool. Cheers, Jordan.
You've had it now, Jordan.
Bombarded.
Bombardment.
Hey, yeah. Lisa's delighted. She won't have to be answering all those questions on Twitter now for the trust. Lisa and Paul. Jordan will take them going forward. Where's this question? At the press conference, who's the mystery heavy breather? I'm going to thank you.
I've got no idea. I've really got no idea. I didn't know there was a heavy breather. Is it not Eddie Howe?
No idea.
That's the same.
There'll just be some guy just there who's like, what are they doing in the video?
Darth Vader. Yeah. Kind of probably combine these two together. Kev T asked, why, and I know you guys in the Dirty Journals covered this as well, and it kind of went viral a bit after that. Then everyone was asking the question, why have we signed 2 young lads and never played them? Should we have brought players first team ready players ready to slot into the first 11? And also Northumbrian River says, want to see more from Livermento after his cup game was phenomenal, but not at Tripp's expense. How do we fix this?
Yeah, so it's a very, very good question. I mean, again, I know you mentioned that we spoke about this on Geordie Journals. So I think Livermento looks like a really, really good buy and will ultimately succeed Kieran Trippier in the near future. But when you're talking about improving the team here and now, could they have gone out and spent that 35 plus million on someone else or another position that immediately needs strengthened? It's the same with Lewis Hall as well. So I don't doubt the signings. I think it's great that they've went out and signed for the future, and ultimately these players will become top players for the football club. But I think on the here and now, they weren't necessarily the buys that they should have made to immediately improve the team. But look, that was Eddie Howe's decision. If I was Eddie Howe, I'd want to impact now, because look, it's all great signing players for the future, but look, you don't know how these things plan out. In 2 or 3 years' time, Eddie Howe might not be here when Toon, Livermento and Lewis Hall are excelling the team. So if I was him, I would have strengthened the squad immediately. But I do see I strengthened the start 11 immediately. But I do see the logic behind signing them. They have improved the squad, but in terms of the immediate starting 11, I'm not sure. Money possibly could have went somewhere else, but it is what it is, and I suppose they're very good signings for the future.
Do you think on that basis, Jordan, that kind of backs up the rumours or the supposed transfer? How can I word it? Like the transfer strategy at the club. Because I kind of pictured, and I think we spoke about this, boys, didn't we, Daz and Pete? I'm sure we did, about how, we've got a list of targets and, we name every position and there's people who are high up the list and then people who are in the middle of the list and whatever. And they will probably look at it and go, right, we want a centre-back, we want a striker, we want a right winger. But say, I don't know, on the left wing where we've already got Barnes and Gordon, etc. If number one on our left wing list becomes available, do we just go in and go bang, get it done? Because this is the guy that we want going forward in the future. And I just wonder whether that's the case with Livramento and Hall, and whether it was just a deal that they just couldn't pass up on because they know that they were so say they had this list, they were just like, we can't not buy him. Like, we've got to buy them. Do you think that's possibly why they bought those players?
Yeah, I think it's probably a here and now moment. So if you don't sign these players now, can you sign them ever? So I do obviously think that came into it, particularly with Livramento. I think you can see from the game that he played against Manchester City that probably one good season in the Championship for him, and he would have got a Premier League move next summer. And then the money that you've just paid is possibly £50 million more, or £10 million more than what we just paid for 35 million. They've obviously banked on a player and his potential. So if you think about with Livramento, I think he's only started 3 games, if that, or maybe even once, and it was a Newcastle against Man City in over 12 months because of that knee injury.
Yeah.
So they have that. I say they've banked on potential. The same with Lewis Hall. Obviously, there's a bit of sentimental value around him as well from being a boyhood Newcastle fan. Impressed against Newcastle last season, both home and away. So, if you look at it for the future, they potentially signed 2 future England fullbacks. Yeah. But for the here and now, they're still probably a couple of years away from being permanent starting 11 starters because Kieran Trippier just gets better with age. It's like a fine wine. Is playing the best football of his career here now. Left back's probably a little bit more short term.
Look at that. Yeah, you got some of the top creative players in the Premier League. Obviously, De Bruyne is injured at the moment, so he'd probably be in this list somewhere. But James Maddison, in particular, has been the highlight of the Premier League, and to have Trippier create more chances than he has, and Bruno Fernandes, for all of his stick, he does create opportunities for Man United. He's probably the only one that does in their midfield, and yet Trippier is head and shoulders above them. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he gets lauded as a right back, not even in there, and really hasn't played well in a lot of games this season. So it's really, really interesting that he's in there, and like you said, that fine wine, for sure, he just gets better and better. I'll just, from my perspective on that, is that it's really interesting. In the summer, there was lots of people that said that both Livramento's fee and Lewis Hall's fee was too expensive. From what you boys have said, you're absolutely right. Is that we had to get them now at this price because we could potentially be paying double, and that's just the reality. Like like you said, if Livramento had a great season in the Championship and Southampton get promoted, they could charge whatever they wanted for him, and it wouldn't be the 32 million that we signed him for. It's the same with Lewis Hall. He's 18. He didn't have a preseason. Pochettino didn't play him. So he's like what Willett will be behind, and he will have to take time to develop. We'll see the best of Lewis Hall at the back end of the season, not right now. But when we do see him play regular, like, we'll know why we signed him, just like we did, as Dad said earlier, with Livramento and yourself when he did play for Man City. But question for you. We talked about signing players. We talked about January. I just wanted to throw this one out there. Mark Douglas talks about this in iSport paper. Newcastle Everton are surely we're not in with Everton again. Surely, Jesus Christ.
That's a tough decision.
Are among the club interested in Calvin Phillips? Would he be a player that you would look at in January, Jordan? I'm not saying are those links real, but would he be a player for all of you boys? Really, would he be a player that you look at in January to try and bring to Newcastle? He traditionally plays in that number 6 position. What are your thoughts about
that? If you had asked us in the summer, I would have said yes, because they need number 6. They probably still do, but then if you bring another midfield player, I mean, it probably sounds silly this, but it almost becomes like a really overcrowded area, especially when you get who's Joe Willock back from injury, obviously Joe Linton as well. Elliot Anderson's like emerged as a out and out midfield option. So I think if you were to bring in Phillips, who drops out that midfield, it's a really difficult one. What I would say is, in terms of number 6, I think you'd be ideal, but I think Bruno's probably found a home there, and I think the time frame for Bruno to play higher up the pitch in terms of number 8 role, it probably doesn't feel like it's appropriate at the moment. I think where he is, he's back to his best. In that number 6 role, Sean Longstaff helped bringing out the best in him. You've got a player on Sandro Tonali in there who needs to adapt. And as I say, you've got Joe Linton and Elliot Anderson and Joe Willock also fighting for a place as well. So, yeah, if you bring in Phillips, who drops out, that's the big question for me. I'm not sure. So I would probably at this stage say it's probably not worth a deal. It's probably not worth doing a deal with Calvin Phillips.
Daz, is he a player that you would target for January? But we in the summer we were kind of all saying towards the end of the summer, we need a number 6. We need a number 6. We need one. Like he plays number 6. Would he be someone that you would look at?
You gave me this question at the end of the transfer window, and I said, I take him on loan at that stage because we're where we were. It'd have to be a very, very good deal, or loan, for me to take him. I never get too excited about him. And his injury record as well. And I know he's back playing now. The odd time, getting a few minutes for City. So, yeah, he's not my ideal signing, no. But on a loan, just to make up the numbers, because I imagine he's a massive wages as well coming from City. So, I'd rather go for someone younger and someone that has a better injury record than Phillips.
Chris, Calvin Phillips, we've talked about him many a time as an option. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, do you know what? I think you boys are right in that. If you'd asked me this question a while back, I'd have said, yeah, definitely. Do you know the thing that we've not spoke about, which concerns me? And somebody said it the other day. I forget who it was. Don't know where I heard it, but I thought it's a good point. And they said that clearly Pep does not fancy him, and that concerns me. Because I think, which is mad because now I'm comparing us to Man City and I'm comparing us to, like Eddie Howe to Pep. But I'm.
Oh. Is he there? He's done it, Daz. He's done it, Daz.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
Oh, we can hear you.
Oh, we can hear you. Hold on. He's doing a throw in here. Oh. I think where Chris, I don't know if he's. Oh, he might be back. I think where Chris might have heard it is Gaps mentioned it on our watch along when we played Man City.
That's probably where I've seen it.
He did talk about Calvin Phillips. A lot of Man City fans don't rate him, don't want him in the team.
No,
don't see why he's. I mean, Rodri's been out 3 games. He's barely got a sniff. And I think that tells its own story there.
You're absolutely spot on, Pete. And I think we're beyond that now. We're beyond that, and I think we're better than that. And if Pep doesn't like,
he's done it again. I tell you what, wherever he is in London, they have screwed his internet. That's for sure. Oh no, he's back. He's back.
Yeah, what I was basically saying was, if Pep doesn't like him, why should we like him? That's all I said.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. Right, I think we're getting towards the end of our allocated time with the man himself. He's had a busy period, and he, obviously, Jordan, from your perspective, massively appreciate you joining us. Have we got maybe one more question to ask him on the way out?
Yeah, so this one was thought that this was funny. Would you take your fellow namesake Jordan as in Pickford? I wouldn't, but would you take him, Jordan?
No, not. I don't think Jordan Pickford would fancy the area. That'd be fair.
I think he would.
You think?
I'm not gonna lie.
No,
I think it. I do.
He's too much of a Mackin. I mean, his Mackin blood couldn't take it. I mean, he could play for it in the black and white.
You said Mackham. I thought you said Madam. He's too much of a Madam.
Both. I've got a feeling. I think he would. I think if we offered him a chance to come to Newcastle, I think he'd take it. Really do. But anyway, at this point now, we've had you for just over an hour. I
can stay for a little bit longer if needs be. If the show goes on, I'll stay. You've got us talking now. I can't shut up.
I'm not leaving.
Leonardo DiCaprio, the show goes on.
Right, we have another question. So, Jordan, and there's a conversation going in the chat as well, and it's about Barnes. Chantel is giving up on him. I still think personally Barnes was a waste of money. And Craig Lee says the only sign I question would be Barnes. Gordon's on fire. Joelinton, Willock, Isaac, and even Murphy can play left wing. The only left-footed right winger we have is Amir, and I'd have spent the Barnes money there. We have to give him a chance, Barnes. I see what people are saying myself. I would question that signing, but we have to give him a chance.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say it was a waste of money, because that would be really, really harsh, because obviously he had a really tough start and getting injured, so not ideal situation for him. But I do agree with the questions around signing two left wingers 6 months apart. So they went and splashed out £45 million for Anthony Gordon, and then obviously paid, I think it was £38 million for Harvey Barnes in the exact same position. Maybe Eddie Howe's thinking was that Anthony Gordon would move over to the right-hand side, but I think that's only happened once, which I think was the Brentford game. I think Gordon went across the right-hand side. With so it was on the Barnes on the Barnes on the left. So maybe if Barnes was fit, would say Anthony Gordon move over to the right, but why would you move Anthony Gordon out of the left-hand position now when he's absolutely flying? I think he's been Newcastle's best player of the season so far. So if Harvey Barnes was fit, he wouldn't be getting the team, because Anthony Gordon is absolutely flying. So I understand the questions around the Barnes signing. I think in isolation it's a really good signing, but I think we've probably got to reserve judgment until the player's actually fit, and then we can have this conversation maybe in 12 months' time.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah,
here's a thing. It's not coming from an LB; it's coming from a JB. And it says, "When do City get stripped of their titles and relegated with Everton?"
Can't come soon enough.
We're waiting for that too.
Yeah.
We'll get a new story for LB to have in the mud again.
Yeah, definitely.
That was fun on Monday, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh mate, I watched it. I thought it was LB was squirming. You and Lawless were going at it, which was funny.
Yeah, you marked him really well. Marked down Lawless pretty well.
Yeah, he was trying every angle, and let's be honest.
Some people thought I talked over him. Some people thought I talked over him, but he does that to everybody else. So I was just giving him a bit of his own medicine, not entertaining any of his rubbish that he's got to say. And when he started talking about selling his soul, he was twerking. He was twerking for a Qatar takeover when they had a little tiny link back in January with West Ham. He was like, "We're back. We're coming. We're gonna be the superpower of West Ham are." And now he's telling us that we're selling our soul. He's having a laugh.
He lost me at 9 men as well. Like 10 men, I could argue that. Like I agree with that. But 9 men, I was just like, God.
You had another topic. Now that we have Jordan for a few minutes, you had another topic you wanted to bring up around the announcement of the Euros.
Oh yeah, I was about to click something else, but yes, Euro 2028 is coming to St James's Park. So not only are they at Wembley, I think Villa, I think the new Everton Stadium, hopefully will be in Championship by then. But yeah, there's a few other stadiums. Well. What's that?
They're coming to Dublin as well.
Yeah. Dublin.
Yeah.
Is it the Aviva?
Yeah, the Aviva Stadium and the Belfast as well. Yeah.
And yeah, St James's Park. Like, what you obviously you wrote a little bit about that, Jordan, as well. What do you make of that, and how big of a decision is that it's at St James's Park? Because we've had Premier League grounds be picked before, and Newcastle not being one of them. Is that significant in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it probably just signals the ambition of the club that they want to be involved and stuff like that again. Mike Ashley wasn't interested in hosting things like that, as we know. So I think it's a great thing for the city. Looking forward, although it's 5 years away, really looking forward to it. Memories back of Euro '96 when there was football played and obviously at St James's Park. It'll just be nice to have a home tournament, and hopefully we'll see some big teams at St James's Park. It'll be a really good occasion. We sort of got a feel for a home tournament last time out when obviously a lot of the games were hosted at Wembley, but it'll be a different ball game, obviously with obviously stadiums across the UK hosting it. So I think it'll be a really good occasion. Really looking forward to it, and who knows, we might see an extended St James's Park by that time as well.
You bet us to it, Jordan. That was one of the questions that David asked. Does Jordan think that the Euro 28 mean that no expansion of St James's Park for 5 years now? And of course, I know, Pete, you've the other story as well of extending it by another 13,000 up to 65,000, and the story in the Telegraph.
Yeah, I say that I think I spoke on you last time that they're looking at it. They've had architectures in, trying to find ways as to how to extend it. Do you dig down, or is the room to extend? Obviously, the Gallagher end. Obviously, we're having Strawberry Place back, and is there a way around the East Stand? I know there's obviously listed buildings behind it, but they're exploring every avenue to try and expand St James's Park because they don't want to move away from it. Murdoch Gadusi's quite clearly came out and said that several times, that leaving St James's Park would feel like you sort of ripped out your heart because it's been the club's home forever. And if there's ways to expand it, which I'm sure there is, then I'm absolutely all for it. I don't want to see a new stadium. I want Newcastle to be at St James's Park. It's a really special stadium. So yeah, the plans are in place to try and extend. They're looking into it. Whether that's done in 5 years' time, I can't give a definite answer on that, but I certainly hope so, because demand for tickets, etc. They need a bigger stadium. So I'm sure they'll look to expand it the first opportunity, but there's still a long way to go because, let's say, architectures, you've got to find different ways to try and expand it. It's probably still quite a long way away. 5 years time, who knows? I'm not too sure.
There's more than enough time to make that change, to make the expansion happen within 5 years. It's just how quickly they can find a solution to it, in my opinion. If they can do it quite quickly, maybe by the end of this season, if they can have something in place that can work, and you've talked about architects have been in and had a look, and let's be honest, that conversation about the expansion is becoming more regular. So it's clearly something of a topic of conversation within the club. in how they can make it work. If they can get something solid, they've got the time to get it done, ready for 2028, which would be amazing to get that done. But yeah, good
then I
question.
suppose, Pete, just the added factor into that, like for them to do those works, because I imagine that they wouldn't be able to get all a massive project like that done over the summer period. It's people would then have to give up their seat, or we'd be at a reduced capacity while those works going on. Now it'll be for the greater good because we're going to have more in there then, but that would be a bone of contention as well, I'm sure. What can you do?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting as well, boys, just to add in before we move on. I noticed on that Euro 2028 schedule, there was no Anfield or Old Trafford, which I thought was very interesting.
Old Trafford, I'm not surprised about.
No,
we went there a few years ago, didn't we? When Ronaldo made his debut, second debut. We've been there a few times, and it's really not a good stadium. That needs a proper revamp. And if you're getting international fans from all over, it's an iconic stadium because people know about it, but it's not nice to be in. Anfield, I am maybe a little bit surprised about because they've got work being done to it to expand it. I do have issues with the away end of how tight and the experience I had the last time I was there. The policing around it was poor, but I imagine they'd have that sorted out. So I am surprised about that because that is going to be like sort of a 60,000 plus seat stadium when it's done, isn't it?
Yeah. I just mean I totally agree with you on Old Trafford, by the way, Pete. But it's just mad when you look at the size of the two clubs. Like you could argue Man City, Man United and Liverpool, arguably historically two of the biggest clubs in the whole country, and they're not even considered. Just kind of shows you how times are changing.
Yeah.
Luton wasn't considered either, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Who, sorry?
No, I'm joking. I said Luton Town.
Oh, Luton. I thought you said
Pete and myself had a conversation about it before the start.
Oh, did he say Luton? Oh my God!
I thought you said Liverpool again.
Yeah. I thought, but Luton.
Yeah.
We've got Hinckley United that are local here. I'd probably rather take theirs than Luton. I'm not gonna lie. Jeez, bad. But I think they're all the kind of the major points here. Maybe the last one, and we've kind of touched on it with Anthony Gordon. But Anthony Gordon for England, Longstaff for England. Where do you see their kind of long-term international futures? Do you see those boys getting picked up for England at some point? Maybe this season. We've got the November international breaks. We've got the March, obviously in the build-up to the Euros. Can you see those boys being picked up into those squads in the next two call-ups, in your opinion, Jordan?
I think Anthony Gordon's probably just a matter of time. If you look at his England background, obviously came through the youth system. Obviously, I think he's played for every age group at England. Anthony Gordon and the way Gareth Southgate works, having obviously managed the under-21s himself, likes to promote from within. So I think Anthony Gordon will get an England call-up probably by the end of the season if he continues in the same form. Sean Longstaff's a bit of a different one. Now, do I personally believe he should be called up for England? Yes, absolutely. Because I look at that midfield area at the minute. Jordan Henderson has pretty much went to a retirement home over in Saudi Arabia. So I think he's probably got one tournament left before he drops out of the picture. Conor Gallagher getting in. Okay, I probably understand Conor Gallagher because there's a potential there. I don't think he's currently performing consistently, but there is a player there. And then the other obvious one's Calvin Phillips, who isn't playing for Manchester City yet, still gets called up. So if you look at that midfield area, if you're looking at one of the informed English midfielders, it's Sean Longstaff. And what Sean Longstaff brings here, I think he brings something different in that England midfield. No one in that England midfield can match Sean Longstaff's physical endurance, energy in the way he presses. So I think I asked Eddie Howe about it at the Friday's press conference, actually, about Sean Longstaff. Is it realistic ambition for Sean Longstaff to be called up for England? And Eddie Howe said that he thinks he's good enough to do it, and I agree. So I don't know. I think it's harder because in that position, Southgate clearly has his favourites. He's calling up the same midfielders all the time. But if Sean Longstaff continues to perform, look, if he's performing it on the Champions League stage and playing for a club that's in the top 6 of the Premier League, how can he be ignored? He can't. So he's just got to continue to do what he's doing, and I think hopefully he'll end up getting one. The only difference I think between Longstaff and Gordon is, as I mentioned there, Gordon has came through the England setup, whereas I don't know if anyone actually knows. I didn't know this till actually a few weeks ago, but Sean Longstaff has never represented England at youth level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come to Ireland, Johnny.
I think, to answer the question, I think both players should be in with a shout, but I think Gordon's will probably come before Longstaff.
Yeah,
he's better than that Jude Bellingham fella, anyway. I think
he's a perfect foil for him. Let Jude Bellingham get forward and do the business.
Let him do the stuff. Yeah,
just a bit like Bruno, and like we let our other midfielders, Joe Linton, go and do your business further forward. I'll just be here and mop up. And do the rest of it. Sean Longstaff has played regularly at a higher level than Calvin Phillips, probably scored more goals, I don't know the stats on that, and has regularly had better performances over a longer period of time now. You're talking going into his second year of performing at a high level than Calvin Phillips has. Calvin Phillips is still living off one season. He had a great Euros where we should have really won it, England. And he did play really well in that tournament. So maybe that's the only thing that he's got over Longstaff right now. But at club level, longevity, for me, Longstaff is outperformed Calvin Phillips. And I do think he would deserve that. But it goes back to the point that Jordan said. Gareth Southgate likes to choose players that have come through the ranks. And that's why I'm surprised Anthony Gordon wasn't called up, because I thought he would be shoo-in off the back of that. He likes to bring players through the 23, the 19s, 23s, and beyond. So I agree. I think he will get called up at some point. But Sean Longstaff deserves his flowers too, as does, when he's back playing, Joe Willock. Joe Willock deserves, off his last season form, deserves to be considered for England, because I think he's got a lot to offer. But again, it'll be an ongoing conversation, that's for sure.
I've got another good question here for Jordan, but first I want to say thanks to Craig Lee for becoming a member. Thanks very much, Craig. And we have one of these.
Super chat.
Zelda.
You'll never guess who it's from. If I said there's no comment in it, you never guess who it's from. It's from our friend Colin. Colin, who never puts in a comment. But thanks, Colin. Thanks for the super chat. Now, the question for Jordan, and it comes from David R. It says, Jordan, do you expect us to finish above Spurs, who are currently sitting top of the pile? They have done very well, but very kind opening fixtures. One game a week also helps them for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough question, that, because look, Spurs have surprised me the way they start the season, to be honest. When they appointed Ange Postecoglou, I thought it was probably quite arrogantly, I thought it was a poor appointment. Looking at his managerial background, but fair play to him. He's done an incredible job. Having sold Harry Kane, you immediately think, oh, that puts Tottenham on the back foot, but they've actually looked better for it. James Maddison, has transformed that Spurs team. Really, is incredible signing. Could have been Newcastle.
Don't, Jordan. Don't.
He wanted to go to Spurs in the end, and I suppose his own personal decision so far has been justified, because
crime music.
He's sort of a typical Tottenham number 10. So yeah, I mean, it's a very good point with the one game a week. I do think Spurs will benefit from that. I said at the start of the season, I think it'll be difficult for Newcastle to get top 4, just with the extra games that they'll have. I think for me, a good season for Newcastle is another cup run. By the looks of it, hopefully getting out of the group in the Champions League and finishing within within the top 6. I think as long as you guarantee yourself in Europe again next season, I think it's a very good season. So where Tottenham fall in that, do they finish in the top 4? At this stage, I would say yes, but you don't know how these things play out. There's still a long way to go. Tottenham quite easy could become the Tottenham that we're all used to over the last couple of seasons. But at this moment, you probably got to say that Tottenham will finish above Newcastle. But as I say, I'm going to sit on the fence because it's really, really difficult to sit and say that now.
Cool. Cheers, Jordan. There's a follow-up question here that's a good one, and people in the chat are recognizing as well. We've also started, and this is for us all, I guess. Question for all the lads. We're 7 points behind first place. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but are we in a position to challenge? Chris, we'll go to you first.
I knew you were going to say this. I knew you were going to ask me. I was going to do me. I was going to pretend the internet had gone then. Do you know what? Just to follow up very quickly on what Jordan just said about Tottenham, like I forget which show I said it on, but Tottenham have been very fortunate. Someone in the chat said very fortunate with fixtures and very fortunate with the amount. I'd love if someone in the chat can do it, please do it. I'd love to know how many players they've used this season because they've been very fortunate as well with injuries. Like they basically use the same team. And I think as soon as you take out a Son or a Bissouma or a Maddison or someone like that, I think that's where they'll come unstuck. Plus, with the fixtures getting more difficult, so I believe we can still finish above Tottenham. But to answer Lee's question, 7 points behind first place. Yeah, do you know what? I've been surprised by how resilient we've been this season, and I actually think, especially on the one we've been on, and we've talked about the PSG game and how big a result it was, and how we're coping. And I think, as we said at the start of the show, once Joe Linton's back, once Willock's back, once Wilson's properly back, we've got lots and lots of options available to us, and that's without the likes of Harvey Barnes and possibly Lewis Hall coming in and Livramento coming in, and we see even more squad rotation. I too, like Lee, I'm not saying we're going to win the league because I think that'd be going a bit too far. But I over the past couple of weeks, I've grown far more confident that we can actually challenge for top 4 again this season. Whereas I did actually think before the season started we were going to struggle, and then obviously against Aston Villa, I was like, oh my god, we're going to be incredible. And then we went on that difficult run, but now we've passed that. So to answer Lee's question, I think we will challenge for top 4. Whether we will be in that top bracket, which I think will contain Man City and Arsenal, I don't know.
Fair enough. Right. Heath, go to you next.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. We will be competitive this season. I've got no doubt about it. We will be competitive for Champions League football. There's a high chance that 5th place gets us Champions League football this season too. And I think anywhere between 7th and 4th would be a very good season for Newcastle, juggling Champions League and other competitions too. Where I think it will finish, I think it'll probably be around the 5th spot, 5th, 6th spot. And 5th gets us Champions League. I genuinely do. I think I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we can navigate ourselves between now and December, if we can navigate ourselves well between now and the end of the Champions League group phase and still be within the top 8, top 7 at that point in the season, I think the second half of the season, we will be massively competitive. I really, really do. And that's without us improving in January. And I think that could potentially be the difference between us getting Champions League and not. We are higher and more competitive now than I kind of expected us to be with that start in the season. And we've turned it around. We've got some big results. Not only are we competitive in the league, we're competitive in the Champions League, and we've managed to be able to juggle both. We're a minute or two away from getting a win at West Ham, which would have catapulted us up to 7th place, a point behind the likes of Brighton and Villa, and we would have been right in the mix. Right in the mix.
Pete, just to counteract your answer very, very quickly, I'm not putting you on the spot here, but because I was thinking this the other night myself, if Newcastle were to finish 4th or 5th, 5th or 6th, who are the 4 clubs that are going to finish above them? Because for me, I don't think Man United are going to be anywhere near top 4.
No. this will be the first. This will be the first ever season we finished above Man United. I feel confident in that. And Daz, I know you talked about it last season about being that first time that we finished above them. I think this will be the season. For me, I think, in my opinion, Man City. This is not about position, by the way. I think Man City will finish above us. I think Arsenal will finish above us. I think Liverpool will finish above us. And then there's one other potential. Now, that's not to say that we don't finish fourth. We could potentially finish fourth. But if there was one other that potentially finishes above us, I maybe would say Tottenham, just for the fact that they're not in Europe. And they have surprised me as well. But as you've said, and I said on 12th man as well, so I'm with you 100%, Chris. Maddison gets injured, Son gets injured, they're a different team. They're not the same team. They have been the difference makers. So maybe they will finish above us based on the fact that they've got more time to prepare, a bit like we were last season. Yeah. But I still think we've got a chance of finishing fourth.
Yeah.
Jordan, back to the question for you. Where was it now?
From Lee G, I think it was.
Oh, for some Lee, yeah, this is it here. What's your thoughts here, Jordan?
No, I don't think they'll challenge for the title, but I think they'll challenge the top four. Got no doubt about it. I think that the title now, I mean, it's still early days. They might get themselves in a position where they're maybe 4 or 5 points behind the leaders at some point. If you want to class that as a title challenge, and yeah, but I think sort of overall picture, I think the top four will be the aim this season again.
For me, I think the wheels, as people are saying in the chat as well, I think the wheels will come off for Spurs later on in the season. I think we'll finish ahead of Spurs. I think it will be Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and then us in either fourth or fifth. That's where I think we'll finish. And hopefully enough to guarantee us Champions League then.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for the questions. Ask this one though. If the City get found guilty and Pep is true to his word, would Newcastle try and get Pep as manager? And there's also some people talking about England going for Eddie Howe in that scenario. I can't see that happen.
Eddie Howe's the man. Eddie Howe's the
man. How?
Honestly though, if Eddie Howe was to leave for whatever reason, I'd be saying pay whatever you need to get Pep to the club. For me, he's the greatest manager and will be probably down as the greatest manager of all time, surpassing Alex Ferguson, in my opinion. I don't think that would be the case, but I genuinely think that he will do that.
Do you think he would like to try and do it again in England, Pete? As if to kind of, because we know Pep loves, the whole bravado. He says he doesn't, but he loves it. Do you think Pep would love to come to Newcastle to see it as a challenge to go, I can win stuff with City and I can win stuff at Newcastle? Do you think he would be up for it? Is what I'm asking.
110%. There's a reason why. I think I tweeted it out after we beat them. There's a reason why he always talks up Newcastle United. He loves Newcastle United. Like, he respects Newcastle United, and he respects them because he played under Sir Bobby Robson. So he knows what the club and the city and the region means to the manager that he played under. And very, very similar to Jose Mourinho. And I think he looks at Man City and he admires what he's done and what they've achieved. But I think the club is hollow to a point. I think the fan base is hollow to a point, and he looks at the passion. He looks at the love that we have for our city, for the region, for the fans, for the club, everything. And he wants to be at a team that has that. He had that at Barcelona. He had that fan base, that love of their club.
Yeah.
He sees Newcastle as that. And I think he would love nothing more. Inside, secretly, he wouldn't tell anybody. But in my opinion, I think he would love nothing more than to bring a trophy to Newcastle. To kind of toast to Sir Bobby Robson that he's achieved it. I also think Jose Mourinho feels the same.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, boys. You know how I feel about Eddie Howe. I would love nothing more than Eddie Howe to be the first English manager to raise the Premier League. I think it'd be an absolute proper statement.
Just breaking news there as well. And there's a comment here from David R. With all this talk about Eddie Howe in England, what about Wales? He's saying he'd be happy to see Eddie Howe go to Wales as well. So don't rule that out.
He's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. David R. Is not going anywhere.
Eddie's going nowhere.
No. He ain't leaving.
Right. I think we could probably bring it to a close. We have to do the draw. We do the draw now.
Yeah.
Let's do the draw.
If Jordan's okay to stay on for another minute or two.
Yeah, I want to see who wins.
It's an exciting thing, and I mean the spinny wheel is like something else. So
can you
miss
see
out
it on
if you
screen?
out, Jordan? You would miss out. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, see it, yeah.
Yeah, we're on, mate.
Here it goes.
£50 voucher for the Newcastle Club Shop. Who's that?
Galley. That's going to be very easy to track down Galley. If you're watching Galley, get in touch. Congratulations. Well, by the way.
Brilliant stuff, Galley.
It's not Paul Gallant, is it?
No, Paulie G's in there as Paulie G. Yeah,
Paulie G.
Yeah, but no, also nice to see something different. We're sick of seeing Carl win. Carl wins everything. Right. It's just a quick shout out to our sponsors as well before we wrap up. Just shout out to the radiatorshed.com and Russ's Rads and all the lovely radiators, which should be nice and handy and cozy. You'll need them now coming into the winter. So check those out if you need some radiators, if you need them installed. You can use his other company, the Install Works, and he'll come in the loaded van. Do you have a Jono's van, Jordan?
No.
No, Jordan. No. Okay. Get onto it, Kennedy. Liam Kennedy, get onto it. Right. Also, a shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Velcro and Botch bathroomware. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, ran by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. And some of the lovely bathrooms in the showroom there. Go check those out if you're in the market for anything bathroom related. That's it for our sponsors.
Brilliant stuff tonight. Jordan, absolutely top man for coming on. Pleasure to have you. You know you're always welcome back whenever you're available. I know it's been crazy busy. And if you haven't as well, check out Newcastle United, Newcastle World, and as well, Geordie Journos on YouTube. Pleasure as always, top man. And hopefully we'll be back in a few weeks' time to talk more wins and Newcastle flying up the table as well. But absolutely top stuff, mate. There it is, Geordie Journos.
Give them a sub, and they are.
Wow, it's very nice.
Very nice.
Love it.
Right, let's end the show on the how. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.